big God. None to fall my hand. He's always on my side.
Hello everyone, this is Janet Cape with the Socialite Production, where we are connecting the world through faith, culture, and entertainment. I am rocking like this because I am so excited to be sitting here with who?
I am Saya Sio.
Yes. This is a big deal right here we have today. And this is not even about hyping her up. She's a big deal because the name of this conversation is Big God. For Women's History Month, we are highlighting big deals, meaning women, not only who are creating history, who are creating Black history. And for Miss Saya, she's not only creating history here in the States, but internationally. And we will get into that. But first, just to introduce myself, my name is Janet Cape. I am the creator of A Socialite Production, where we are connecting the world through faith, culture, and entertainment. I'm going to pass the mic to Mrs. Sio to let her introduce herself, and then we'll get more into the conversation. Saya, let the people know who you are.
Thank you, Janet. I appreciate you really spending time to have this great interview.
Yes.
I like the title of the conversation, Big God. Talk about big deal. Social life is a big deal also. So I just want you to remember as we have this conversation.
Thank you.
So who is Saya? I am a woman with a big God. A big God, a very big God. A visionary. A mother. A woman with so many strategies. And we will talk about some of those.
Mm-hmm.
With a heavy vision.
Mm-hmm.
I am also a wife. I've been married to my high school sweetheart, Saya Sio, for 25 years. I've known him for pretty close to 33 years. I am a mother.
Mm-hmm.
Have raised 3 beautiful kids. My oldest son is 24-year-old Francis Sio III. My middle daughter, Francia Faith Sio. And my last baby, Emmanuel, who is also 16 years old. I am a sister. I'm from a family of 9 siblings. I'm the last, and you know last always act like we are the first. So I am a leader. From a professional standpoint, I am a senior director of risk and strategy. So I lead a lot of strategic initiative for a major financial company. I'm also a friend. I have many friends. And most importantly, as I said earlier, I am a woman with a big God. I love the Lord.
Big God.
Big God. And I do nothing without talking to the Master, my big God.
There you have it. So much more to unpack, but we're going to stop there. As we go through the conversation, you will understand why this title, Big God.
You know, in my intro, it's interesting when I talk about visionary, being a big strategic person. 12 years ago, I gave birth to a big strategy, the ATDOE Memorial Foundation.
Yeah.
And I am the founder and chairman of that great organization that is changing the world through education, women empowerment, and basic health services. Over the past 12 years, this foundation has not only impacted the lives of over 600 children in Liberia, West Africa, through Christian-based education, not just any kind of education, but quality Christian education. We have kids from kindergarten to 10th grade. Our first inaugural class will be taking place in 2026.
All right, so we were going deep into the foundation stuff. Like, you know, when you have your baby, you just want to just tell the world about everything. We're definitely going to get there because there's so much to unpack, and I want to do it in layers. As it relates to this platform, as it relates to me as well, I'm a connector. I'm not going to go deep into who I am and what I am, but it makes sense to bring it out now, especially as to why I have her on here. Essentially, I am a connector, I am a bridge builder, and I am a storyteller. And today we have an amazing story, not only about vision, but about overcoming. The big God that she serves, that she stands on, she doesn't do it alone. And as she introduced her family, her husband most especially, you have to have the right partner to be able to execute vision. But we're going to get into it. But before we go further, I want to kind of break the ice, even though I think the ice has been shattered already, right? But kind of break the ice and tee the conversation up, because right now we are recording, it's the end of February. We're getting ready to transition into Women's History Month, as I said at the beginning of the conversation. But in February, I covered Black History Dreamers, which she is definitely one of those dreamers / visionaries. But I also covered love stories. Of course, February is Valentine's Day. You talk about love, but not so much of the romantic love, just about things and people you love. And so before we go further, I want to ask this visionary, this big dreamer, what are some of a couple of things, just a couple, that you love that's a part of your love story, and why?
I like to think about love from a biblical perspective.
There we go.
Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy. It's not boisterous. So as I think about that, it reminds me of how we have to show up every day from a love perspective. Obviously, I just celebrated 25 years.
Yes.
And my family and I celebrated 25 years. My husband and I, we went to Cabo. But that experience was so practical in the sense that we, at the climax of our celebration, we took a boat ride. And on the boat, my kids and myself and my husband, I had the opportunity to dance another song again with my husband. And it felt like high school again. So when I said love never dies, it was real. And to see my kids sit and watch the evolution of 25 years
That's beautiful.
of the love story.
That's
That
beautiful.
doesn't mean that we have not had our ups and downs.
Absolutely.
We have, but love keeps no record of wrong. So true love keeps no record of wrong. True love story never ends. So as we think about love, there will always be opportunity to go beyond how you feel. Some days you may not feel like you like the person, but love doesn't care about feeling.
Right.
Because we are commanded to love regardless of how we feel.
Right.
So when I think about love, I think about those people that I encounter every day, that I have to obviously still love them regardless of how they make me feel. So I don't know who I'm talking to, but as we think about love, love should not be centered around making us feel comfortable.
It's not.
So do you love regardless of how you feel? Sometimes it's hard to love, but we all are commanded
Been
to
called
love.
to do it. And that's how you're able to do things in power and excellence. God is love. You talk about the foundation and faith. That's who we stand on, right?
Yes.
And so through his love, through his power, that's how we're able to move. You know what? I'm so glad we started with that, because I didn't even think about love tying to vision, right? Because you spoke about how love sometimes is hard. Love feels good. Love can be scary. Love can be so fulfilling. It has a lot of emotions. So when you speak about a pregnancy, right, and you're giving birth to a baby, that's love. Through all of the emotions and feelings, you still love. And so let's speak about that, because we'll start, I'm kind of skipping, but I want to start at the top with vision. Because when you speak about Black history, when you speak about Women's History Month, when you speak about love stories, that's vision. Let's talk about your love story just with vision as a whole, no specific thing, but what are the feelings of love you get with vision?
You know, when you think about love and vision, I think about passion. Because when you are passionate, you have a compelling need to do something, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have the ability to do it. And it can be uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable in the sense of people may not understand what that vision is about, what that passion is about, but you know what needs to be done. So when I think about when I first got pregnant, and I'm carrying a lot of babies, by the way, and we will talk about those multiple babies. My first big baby was the ATDOE Foundation. I had so much passion and love about birthing this strategy, empowering today's generation for a better tomorrow. But it felt uncomfortable in many ways because lack of resources, lack of the support that you need at the time. The Bible says, write the vision. I had the vision, but everybody did not understand. And I'm sure you can appreciate the fact that starting social life, you have a lot of passion to do multiple things.
Yes.
You have love,
Yeah.
but sometimes it gets frustrating that
Very.
people don't understand. They might require the word of you, don't understand your capacity and all of that. So if you are trying to visualize all of that and you're burning with this passion, you got to be able to balance. A lot of times we get frustrated because we don't understand how to balance the passion, the love, and the vision.
Yes.
You have to take a pause and understand and reassess. You can have love, but you have to be realistic.
And love can hurt.
Yes.
Anything you've given birth to and pushing forth, it's a lot of emotions. Because to your point, passion. People who are passionate about anything, that comes with pain. That comes with excitement. Like you just kind of all over the place because you want to see it come into fruition. So when we speak about that vision, that love, that passion, let's tie it into Black history, right? Because I know visionaries aren't doing it to create history. You're doing it because you have a calling, you have an assignment. But at the end of the day, as you move forward, you're creating history. Black history, women history. What does Black history mean to you?
As I researched the definition of Black history, it reminds me about Black history is also known as African American history, right? And Black history tends to honor those individuals who fought for our civil rights. Right. So as I think about that, I think about those who went ahead of us to allow us today, as an immigrant, a Liberian immigrant, Black history is very important to me because had it not been for those individuals who went ahead of me, like the Martin Luther King, I would not be able to be free in this great country to actually carry out my vision. So that actually resonates a lot with me because it has paved the way for me to be able to stand in corporate America, to live a good life in America, and be able to even pave the way for other African Americans to come after me.
But let's take it even further, and I'm glad you called that out because that's key, and that's a piece that a lot of immigrants don't necessarily speak about because while it is Black history, it wasn't a part of their direct experience and education, right? But when you speak about Black history, it's not limited to the U.S. Me, I'm a first-generation Liberian American, born in the States, raised by African parents. So I had the best of both worlds. I had the knowledge of both worlds. But one thing that I want to make sure, and in my charge with a social light production, is to tell the story of both sides. Black history isn't limited to American history. Black history is also African history. And what you are doing, what you and your husband and your foundation, your team are doing is creating Black history. You've already created history, but it continues. And what you've established and are establishing with ATDOE Memorial Foundation and all the other babies that you've given birth to and have yet to give birth to, you're establishing history. So let's tee it into Women's History Month. This video will be aired during March, Women's History. And as you can see, this is a woman, a whole woman. Let's just pause. Take a scan. Why do you think the powers saw it fit to have a whole month dedicated to the woman?
So I may speak from a biased perspective, but in my perspective, women are the key. Women are the net. Women are the people that actually run the world. And when I say that, coming from a girl who did not really have her father. My father left when I was 5 years old. So I really didn't experience the love of a father. And I watched my mother play the role of a mother and a father. She has and will ever be my hero. My mom did not have the luxury of resources and everything, but she made sure that I had everything I needed to be able to face this world today. Education, the best of education, even though she did not have all of those. So as I think about that, those are some of the importance of a woman that we have to celebrate, because women are the bedrock of the society. in my perspective, from my
Yeah,
personal
this is it.
experience, I have seen women in many strategic positions that have really shifted. Women are visionaries. I think about Rosa Parks. I think about other women who have come before us, even Oprah Winfrey. There are many other great women who've done a lot of great things, including myself.
Absolutely.
When I think about the vision of 12 years ago, starting a foundation, that felt like a big deal. But women are brave. When I think about women, I think about bravery. And I hope we will talk about that, because
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get into that.
you have to be able to face your fears. And it's important that we honor mothers, because mothers are nurturing. It's hard for a father. There are some fathers now. I'm not going to take away from some fathers,
Yeah,
but
of course.
statistically, a lot of homes are successful when there's a mother. We give breath. We carry a lot. We are passionate. We love. We care. We are multi-faceted people. Multitasking. Doing multiple things. Have you seen a woman cooking, having a conversation at the same time?
On the phone,
multitasking.
Yes.
Everything goes well. I'm not trying to take away from men. They are really great men and great fathers. But again, women are a big deal. Without a woman, if you look at it from a biblical perspective, even when God created man, he paused and said, wait a minute, this is not going to work. It's not going to work.
Something missing.
So God knew that women are big deals.
Yeah. But even taking it deeper, and again, this is not taken from the men, because trust, your time coming, I will honor you, I promise. But, just going a little bit deeper, because this is Women's History Month that we're covering, right? Think about Mother Nature, Mama Africa, right? Like, just think about why the term of for a woman is given, a mother is given to these large, massive things. Because to your point, you say you're impregnated with a lot of vision. We are carriers. We are protectors. We are watchdogs, right? But then when you bring it together, because the role of a man is just as important, but the woman, we just play a specific positioning to help the man be an even better version of themselves, right? So it's not taking the role or the replacement of, Saya was telling her personal story, but given what she's doing with her family, if she didn't have her helpmate, her partner, I'm not going to say that it wouldn't work, because this one right here, she will find a way, right? But strategically coming together like a great puzzle, it's worked out.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, there are many things I would not have accomplished without the partnership of my husband.
Yeah.
Whilst I may have a lot of strategy, it takes a lot to execute those strategies.
Right.
And he's a great partner in terms of making sure things work.
Yeah.
And a challenger.
Right.
Because as mothers, you want to do
everything.
You want everything to happen.
It's a good balance.
And you need that balance to say, hey, is this realistic?
Right. And so that's where the man comes in, because sometimes it's so big, and Sio, he's very good for putting a lid on it. Not a lid on the vision or the excitement, but let's take it one step at a time, right? So there's definitely a place, a role, and an acknowledgement and reverence for the man, but as it relates to the woman, it's just so many qualities, so many significant things that we carry if we're operating at our fullest potential. All right, so we can go on and on and on about the role of a woman and a man, and again, this is not about pinning one against the next, but just showing the impact and the value as it relates to the role that we play, aside from the man's role. But now we're going to go deeper into vision. And so this conversation, like I said, is titled Big God, because we have to understand how big our God is before we can understand vision. Because if our God is big, he's not going to give us small vision, right?
Oh yeah, who much is given, much is expected.
Right.
And when you start to understand the size of God, you better get ready, because you will start getting impregnated with things that you have never even imagined.
Right.
Jeanette.
Right.
And when I tell you, the multiple babies
They're dancing all inside.
that's dancing all inside of me. And again, I think it goes down to trust. God has to trust you. He says, can I trust you? Can I trust you with little things? And if you're proven to be good stewards, then I can trust you with bigger things. Then you begin to understand the size of your God. You cannot just understand the size of your God without really having the experience of your God.
Let's pause, because I'm being extra. I literally just said that today. You can't understand how big God is until you've experienced God. Talk about that.
When I talk about experiencing God, I'm going to look directly into this from the time I was a little girl. You know, when I was born, there was a measles outbreak in 1974, November 10th, in the hospital in Grand Bassa County. And I tell you, all the baby girls that were born that day died. And I was the only person who survived. So as a baby, I experienced the size of my God. But because he had a bigger purpose for me, fast forward, lost my mother at age 14, and then he began to be the mother and the father that I felt every day along the way. From surviving the Liberian Civil War without my mother, yes, I had my siblings, we lived together, but I pretty much became a woman at an early age. I wore big shoes and started to take care of myself. And then watched myself go through the ups and downs in Monrovia and surviving, but there was a God. I wasn't as close as I needed to be, but I still knew because my mother, I saw her talk about the size of this God. I saw her preach about him, sing about him every day. So the 14 years that I had, I got impregnated with the size of the God. And then he began to present himself to me in many ways. The first big way, oh my God, I could preach. Can I go on?
You already preaching, my dear.
The first big way I experienced God was when I had my job at the International Trust Company of Liberia, and Francis came to America, and I wanted to come to America. And I prayed a simple prayer. I asked God for 3 big things. 1998. I told God, if you do these 3 big things for me, I want to go to the U.S. on scholarship. I want to have an immigrant status. And I want to get married. Those 3 things, and I pronounce them every day, 1998, the year of triple honor. And God honored those 3 things. And when I came to America, he just began to get bigger and bigger. So you have to be able to experience God and trust and testify. Then he's going to come back and entrust you with more and more. And when the more I got closer to him, I saw him getting bigger and bigger. And right now, I can say he's a giant God. Because what he has done, my eyes cannot even envision. For he said, eyes have not seen, nor ears heard, nor has it entered the heart of man the plans I have. I'm carrying so many babies right now. I feel like I'm pregnant. I just gave birth to a new one. And I'm like, whoa, God. You are massive. This is the reason when I said earlier, I am a disruptive visionary in this season. Because again, the size of my God. Because when he disrupts my protocol, I know he puts things in perspective. But again, it has to be a personal experience to walk in uncomfortable places.
Because you know.
Yes.
Not, you didn't hear, you know.
I've seen him. I've heard him. I've experienced him. I have tried him. And over, he's proving to be bigger in every situation.
And what makes it even more impactful is, and confirming, there's things he will reveal and do and confirm that you had no way of knowing, no way of making happen.
How can a girl all the way from Africa pronounce coming to America, scholarship free, free education, pronouncing having a free status in the US, pronouncing coming to America and getting married, and pronouncing that all of that will happen? And then 10 years later, God reminds me, say, oops, now it's time to give birth again to another baby. Before that, I could go on and on, but before that, I got pregnant the first year when I came to America, 1998. And I didn't feel like I was ready for a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And God says, you will have that baby. He used my husband to make sure I have the baby.
Now we're speaking about Francis, the
Francis,
real baby,
my
not the
real
vision.
baby.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
real baby.
yeah.
So Francis the third, my boy, every time I look at him, I look at the size of my God.
Yeah.
That I did not feel at that time I was ready to be a mother, but he used my husband to intercept whatever decision I wanted to make, to bring and nurture and give breath to this child who today, when I look at him every time, I say, wow, God, you are a big deal.
Big.
Then I had Saya, then I had Emmanuel, and he says, those are your physical babies.
Right.
But I'm telling you, the vision and the word that you have to touch, there's so many people waiting for you. But I have trusted you with these babies, so now I can trust you with other babies around the world.
So we're going to pause there because she's going directly into my next point. And it's really a model that you have, or a mission, or a proclamation, if you will, the power of possibilities. And what she's explained thus far is proof of the power of possibilities, which is God manifesting vision through your hands. Can we hold up your hands? Can the people see your hands? Do y'all see these hands? All right, so let's go into these hands. Look, show the people your hands now. And I'll show my hands as well, because God has trusted our hands to do specific work. But the power of possibilities through these hands. Let's talk about that. This next level, well, actually next level was last year. Now you've elevated even more into a new era through these hands, the power of possibilities. Let's talk about that.
So when we think about the power of possibilities, I think about the new.
The new, all
The
right?
new. And that new means everything. Holistic. You know, sometimes we talk about certain attributes of our life and forget about other pieces. In this season, the possibilities that have surrounded me, everything has to be reassessed. Myself. Who is Saya? Who are my friends? My look, my weight, my inner circle, my external circle,
You better
my
paint it.
vision. Everything has to be reassessed. Again, it goes back, for God to entrust you, he has to be sure that you can handle what he has for you to do.
Can we pause real quick? Because what you've just said, yeah, he's giving you new things and new visions and new babies, but it's still the same you. So it's like he wants you to freshen it up, tidy it up. When you have a house you're cleaning up, yeah, it looks nice, but let's redecorate.
Agree. And we cannot be complacent.
Right.
Because a lot of times we get to a place where we are just complacent. We have to elevate. We got to go
Elevate.
continuously. We got to stay up. And that's how God gives us new vision and new babies. Because if you are this complacent, you may miss out because of the noise, the distraction. Sometimes we have so much noise that's happening. And sometimes the noise are internal. So you gotta, if you want to elevate the new you, every day is an opportunity to experience something new.
Yeah.
So in this season, I'm reassessing everything. The new Saya, the new look, the weight, the environment, and all of that. Everything. Because again, there's bigger things that are about to happen. You talk about my hands. I recently gave birth to a new business or vision called the Blessed Hands. You talk about empowering. God says, okay, now you have empowered or continue to empower through the ATDOE Foundation. What's next?
Well, let's pause there, because we skipped over some stuff that some people are aware of and some people aren't. So let's talk about that for a second. What are you talking about? What are these babies? What have you done? And what I want to make clear is these babies aren't just local, they're international. And these babies are international not by way of big funding, but holding on to a promise and allowing God to provide. So let's talk about the first baby and kind of tell the story. Again, covering the high levels because we'll be here all night. But started with ATDOE, started with kindergarten, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So you know the ATDOE.
I know it. I can tell it. Well, you know what? Let's paint it, and then I'm gonna hand the mic to you. So ATDOE Memorial Foundation, the foundation itself started. This is the 12th year or 13? 13 years. But when she took her family to Liberia, they visited hometown. They decided to start a school. Talk about the grounds of that school. Where is that school built?
So the school is built on the compound that I was born and raised. So personal story.
And not just that, but the administrative building, the initial structure, was that your house?
Yes.
I mean, how dope is that?
As a little girl,
Yeah.
barefooted. Today, that place has been transitioned into a place of hope. So it's almost my life replayed to all the 600 kids running around, like fast forward where I was 50 years ago.
The administrative building is her house, her childhood home. But then attached to that, you started kindergarten. Then from K, you went to
junior high.
Then from junior high, you went to
senior high. And
this is all in a matter of years. Just keep stacking. While you think you've accomplished something, God said, okay, don't rest too much because we got another step. Oh, don't rest, we got another step. Now that we're in high school, you have a high school.
High school, and in 2 years, we'll have our first inaugural graduation.
And we all will be there.
And we are already planting seeds in the U.S. for some of these students to go to colleges in the U.S. Hello? And then, as you said, just when I felt like I was done, God gave another baby again.
The women.
The women.
The women.
The women.
Yeah.
We started the women empowerment. Hundreds of women have been empowered. We have 5 different programs. Sewing program. We teach them how to make soap. We teach them how to do businesses, microfinance, tailoring, computer literacy, home economics, all of that.
And some of those clothes that they make is shipped to the U.S. and is sold during the gala. So you have opportunity to wear authentic clothes that were made by hands.
And then just when we thought we were done, God says, no, another baby. Boom. It's time to graft the medical clinic.
All right.
So right now as we speak, we're building.
No. Well, let's pause. Because before that, you had the medical services, free medical services, which is a whole nother program within itself.
Yes.
All right. Now, next, boom.
Building a new clinic. That will serve about 20,000 residents. And do you know the ratio of doctor to patient in Liberia is about 1 to, I would say, 1,000. Because we have so few doctors and limited facilities. So having a clinic in our community that would do a lot for our local people means a lot.
So just to paint the vision again, make sure for those people in the back that's not quite connecting. It wasn't a clinic initially. It was just a resource hub for just basic healthcare needs, right?
Yes.
But now it's a full service clinic.
That is being constructed. The plan is to
With
have
doctors
that completed
Okay.
by May.
Okay.
And open. So a new baby.
All right.
Giving birth to a new baby.
And when you speak about big God, because he gave you this big vision with, okay, how are we going to fund this? What happened next to fund?
He always sends the resource. When God gives the vision, he brings the provision.
All right.
Over the years, we've always had donors, individual donors, as well as big, sometimes anonymous donors, who just send contribution because God is speaking to somebody to take care of the babies that we are giving birth to. He says, who? there's a baby in Liberia that I need you to redirect some of that funding for. When I talk about big God, this is the personal experience.
So you just woke up one day, checked the mail or wherever, however the check came, and you saw what as it relates to funding?
This last one,
Mm-hmm.
50,000 United States dollar, and me and my husband look at each other like, no, God.
Is this real? Right.
God, is this a check? Okay.
Did
Then
you put it up to the light?
Then we had to like call the bank and say, okay, can you verify this is real?
Right.
Yes. And 2 days later, the check cleared.
But you don't know who it's from.
No. But what I do know is the instruction that was sent with the check is that when the building is completed, there will be instruction to name the building after the donor. So I'm sure pretty soon we will be able to find
out who that is.
But this is the big God. The big God. But again, you have to be ready. We're talking about women history. God has to trust you. Can you nurture all the multiple babies? We talk about women who have come before us. There were things that they had to do, instructions that they had to follow. We want the big, but we don't want to do the big.
Right.
So if you want the big and experience the big God, you have to be positioned to follow the big instruction.
But we can't wrap that up because there's still a little bit more to touch on. We can't cover everything, right? But not only with that, that's in Liberia. That's on the international side. The work is being done on this side. We're not going to talk about the new vision, new babies, because that's everything you don't put out, before it's time. But even speaking about how you're taking care of kids here, it looks different, but providing scholarships. You want to talk about that?
Oh, definitely. So we cannot forget our Charlotte and North Carolina community. So part of the ATDOE Foundation, we also gave community-based scholarship to graduating high school seniors.
Yes.
But again, God is birthing another baby.
I know. Don't say it too soon. It's the babies is 9 months. I don't know if it's been 9 months. If you want to put it out, that's fine. But let's.
So the baby now, I'm having contraction.
Okay.
So I'm having contraction. He's like, you cannot be comfortable with this. This mold is bigger to this scholarship program. So we are in the place now of really looking at the baby and trying to figure out what is missing. How can we bridge the gap when you think about Liberia and America? The history is so rich. Social life, you talk about bringing the word, bringing what again? What do you say?
Connecting the world, connecting culture and entertainment.
And Liberia has a rich history with the U.S. So as opposed to just giving scholarship, it's critically important for people to understand the rich history between Liberia and the U.S. The free slaves that left the U.S. to form Liberia today. How do we bridge that gap? How do we give more college students the opportunity to feel and touch Africa, to understand what it means to give, to volunteer. So these are all multiple babies that God is. But again, can He trust us to execute?
There you go. And before we end this, because this is rich, this is like just sweet, right? What you're speaking about bridging the gap and telling the story is even deeper than that. It's making room for everybody. And so the history of how, I won't even say how Liberia was formed, because Liberia was in existence before the free slaves went over, but they went over and pretty much created their way of life, that they had here and made way. But that sometimes made people feel like they didn't belong or somebody was better than the other. The story that I'm telling is we all belong. The story that we are telling is we all belong. And bridging that gap is showing how, yes, we are different, and there's nothing wrong with being different, but there's a lot of ways we are alike. And together, the differences can be strengths. Just like a marriage, you have your strength, Sio has his strength. Coming together, you're a powerhouse. I want to, before we go on, because there's one more big piece of the vision that we haven't covered yet, another step, the new era, right? But when you speak about making room for everyone, I think about you and the story you've always told in reference to your voice. Use your voice, your energy, your vibe. That's why God made you who you are. There's an audience that needs you, not a carbon copy of somebody else coming through your voice. So I remember you used to always try to, not really use your voice because of your experience. Talk about the importance of Saya voice.
And I'm grateful that you've brought that conversation up because there's a seat at the table for everyone.
There we go.
I am telling you, there is a seat at the table. When I got to the U.S. and experiencing corporate America, I had my own insecurities because of my accent. But I'm glad that people like you who came along forced me to use my voice, because there's so many people who need to hear your voice. And the more I ran away from my insecurities, the more God presented opportunities for me to use my voice. And I had no choice but to face my fear.
Right.
I remember working with you, and you were like, Sarah, you better speak out, because people need to hear your voice. So I don't know who is in that same position, but right now I can tell you, I am making sure I'm intentional at every corporate meeting to let them know what I believe, what I have done, and to use my voice. It is really important. You cannot be another person. There is a reason why you were born in Liberia, you were born in Africa, you were born in the U.S. Everybody has a unique voice. And I am so grateful to the many people who actually mentor me to face that. And today, I'm telling the world, you better get ready, because this new Saya, everybody.
This is a whole other level.
And I think one of the things, Jeanette, that I also struggle with, why I was dealing with the insecurity, was acceptance. I was so consumed by how it was received and who applauded me or who was clapping for me and who was in my corner. And God had to deal with me. It's like, you know what's most important? I'm in your corner. And if you can sleep at night knowing that you've done everything you need to do, that's what's most important. Even though the passerby may not clap, but trust me, they're watching.
They're watching.
As I shared with you in our last conversation when we had dinner 2 nights ago, and I remember telling you, and so what? And so what if you, as a passerby, interpret my voice to be powerful, boisterous? Maybe God is using you to advertise me from that perspective. But it took a lot to get to that place. And that's why most of us are so silent. We are caved in because of the perception of perspective.
Right.
Of people who don't even matter to you where you're going. But it takes a lot to get to that point, though.
No, it does.
Just like
it's
how
levels.
Janae had to bring you to that
Right,
point.
right.
Sometimes you require the tough love. And you showed me a lot of this tough love, Janae. I was like,
don't be telling me between
but, and that's when we think about love, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes love is not always comfortable.
Yeah.
It's having those hard conversations. It's facing yourself in the mirror and saying, I have this more in my eyes that I need to take out.
Yeah. What she's talking about is I used to be on the board for ATDOE Memorial Foundation, and I was on the board because of my mom, my late mother, Mildred Capes. Next month it's going to make 7 years since she's been gone, but she was like a mother and mentor to you. Her voice, the way she used it, it was more so gentle, encouraging, comforting. But then she sent her baby girl to be the firecracker. Like, what you doing? Do this. Say, put on something, show your body. You know, all of this stuff.
Dance. Why dance? I was like, oh, God, Jeanette.
So I could have maybe massaged it in a little better. But at the end of the day, I realized that we didn't have a lot of time. Because if I didn't do what I needed to do, in addition to everyone else who's been a part of the mission, you at this very point, being pregnant with all these babies, it's a certain way you have to carry it. And your body speaking from the analogy standpoint, would not have been in position and ready. This whole new era of Saya would not be here. And so I'm thankful for the hard assignments. And I'm thankful for the big God that carries us through. And what you're talking about in reference to me, God is sending a lot of midwives, a lot of aunties to the vision, uncles to the visions, ormans to the vision. You have help. You have leaders who are coming. You have more money and donors who are coming.
Interesting you talk about midwives. I remember I had a personal encounter with God this November 11, actually November 12th, after my husband's big birthday, and that Sunday, and I'm in the room, and it was so profound. And God started to release a lot of prophetic words in terms of gather the midwives. You cannot afford to have a stillbirth, but trust the midwives. So yes, we have to be very careful in the season of the new or the explosion. Right. We got to jealously manage or guard the baby, because the midwives can be the same people that could harm the baby. So every midwife may not be necessary or required to be in the delivery room with you.
Say it.
Some of them might just be called to be outside and blow their alarm when your water breaks.
Okay.
Some of them may be called to be in the room for delivery. Some of them may be called to bathe the baby after it's born. Okay. So that means that sometimes the baby have to be shielded away from certain midwives. So those are all the maturity God has to trust you to give you the big. Because if he gives that to you and you cannot handle it prematurely, the baby's going to die in childbirth. And there's so many babies that I'm carrying. I can't afford. That's why when I said earlier, we have to go back and reevaluate everything.
Women's History Month, she's even too big for this couch. There are stages, platforms, the world that is waiting on you. Because you can't even contain it in conversation. It's like, because it's so much. It's so much.
Oh, I love this big God.
Big.
And this big conversation. Before you go to the next topic, God says, do you even know who you are? How can you know that I'm big if you don't even know who you are? So sometimes we have to take a pause and look at ourselves.
Yeah.
And recalibrate and understand what we carry. A lot of times we have been crushed so much by external influences, and we tend to fold and second guess ourselves. And in this season, no more. Women, we need to come out, because everyone has a seat at the table. You have to understand who you are. Because a lot of times we don't understand who we are or what we carry, again, because of the people we surround ourselves with, and we tend to shrink to fit. You cannot.
No.
You have to get out of those bubbles and those circles that make you feel smaller than who you are.
That part. But in addition to that, we'll shrink, but then sometimes we'll try to act bigger than what we are to fit in other spaces, versus being exactly who you are, which would be the perfect fit in any room you go in.
Yes.
So, but even I say all the time to you, especially when we were at dinner, like in this season, I mean, you've always had this look of power, but it's even more evident, and you have to own it. And I'm not just talking to you of what I see, it's even with myself, to your point of shrinking, because you don't want to. You actually checked me at dinner. I say with a socialite production, I don't do this for popularity. That's whack. I do that for purpose. And so I always put that out there. But what did you say to me?
So what? You are a media company. Media companies are popular. So if that's one perspective or version of you that another person is going to run with, let them be your marketing person. Because these things will market us in different ways. And we have to be comfortable with it. Because if you want to sit on the big stage, you got to be okay with criticism. I used to be, I used to run to my husband most time and say, Sio, I said this. He said, I was like, why me? He said, why not you? If ain't you, who you think it's gonna be? You gotta get comfortable. As you elevate, you have to get comfortable with the criticism.
And it's one thing, I know this is about you and about women, but there's one thing I love about Sio, those who know Sio. It don't matter what people say, he will stand there in the most, you know what I'm saying? And but that's a good trait. Some people may see it as arrogant, but it's kind of like, I know who I am. Say what you want. Let's stay focused.
I draw strength from him, and most times I ask him, I say, sweetheart, how you just go about being normal with all the noise? He said, I'm a crewman. I grew up with noise.
Loud. That's why I don't even need a microphone. It's in my bloodline. Loud. The crew spirit. But yeah, of course there's a balance, right? You don't want to walk around arrogant, but you have to walk in a way to shield yourself, pretty much is what you're doing. And you're holding your position. It's kind of like if you're fighting, nobody's in a fighting stance like this. You're standing. So when the blow is coming, you can either take it or dodge it.
And you talking about that, I hear God say energy. Why are you going to redirect your energy in places that is not even necessary? You got bigger work. You talk about big and better. There's so many babies that you have to nurture. Imagine you having your babies crying out there while you're running behind people, naysayers, and how they feel, and your babies are dying.
Right.
Energy. Redirect for the big stage.
All right. We on something here. There's another huge part of the vision that has been accomplished, and there's so much more to come. But one thing I say about Saya and her husband and the team that's doing this work is a lot of people talk and they complain. You do, meaning you act, you move. So yeah, you may talk and complain, but that complaint, that irritation is another baby that you have to align to. So when you speak about Liberia, even here in America, people have the same song that they complain about all the time. But the question is, what are you going to do about it? We all play a role, no matter how small or big, or we can be the auntie to the vision to help, so talk about that. Talk about you moving on a whole nother level and what you've created, what you've all created as it relates to the new era.
So I think for me, personally, as an individual, I function at a very high level when there's chaos.
That's a great skill.
My brain functions when there's a lot of chaos. Chaos to me presents itself as a puzzle. And my brain gets so energized to put the pieces together. So even in my job, I operate solving problems, and once the puzzle is put together, I move on to the next. That's why I'm giving birth to a lot of babies. So as I sit and see people complain, I look at those complaints as opportunity to solve a puzzle.
That's good.
And with that, and having such a great partner like my husband, who also operates that way, is a different level of energy.
It is.
So while people are complaining about what does not exist, we are enjoying, even though we have our roadblocks, but we're enjoying solving the problem.
And creating. And then bringing sustainable solution to allow another person to manage. Because once we solve the puzzle, then we want to empower to sustain and move on to something else. And that's the reason ATDOE Foundation is very, very successful, because there are a lot of roadblocks in Liberia. It's not easy to do a strategy while you're in the U.S., but we look at those as opportunities for improvement. Put the puzzle together. Every day we're on the phone strategizing what needs to happen, what worked and what hasn't worked, and then move on to the next. So you cannot just sit and complain. And that's why most people, the vision die, because you have a vision and you have unrealistic goal. The world is full of puzzles, issues. So you cannot operate in isolation of chaos. You have to be able to deal with chaos. Pause. Bars. Meaning she's flowing, she's rhyming. Say that again.
You cannot operate in isolation of chaos. The word is full of chaos. Jesus walked through this earth. From his breath, there was chaos until he left. So God has to trust you with the big. If you cannot deal with chaos, you're not ready for prime time. When I tell you how many obstacles we have to overcome, but we look at that as a puzzle because we have a big God.
You said what, honey? You said you're not ready for prime time if you can't deal with the chaos.
No.
So a lot of people are wondering why certain things haven't happened. You're not ready.
No. You're still dealing with the noise and the baby things and not doing what God has called you to do. We are about to celebrate 25 years of marriage. You think it was always rosy? No. But we had a goal. Love always wins. We will deal with the chaos, but we will reach our goal. And that's what in July.
Let's pause. We're gonna get to that. I don't want you to get to that too soon. In reference to you acting and doing versus just complaining, because you guys just built something major in Liberia that not only helped the community in which you serve in, it helps others. What did you guys just recently build?
Oh, the recent road construction, right? So for a couple of years, the road that leads to the school is actually Church Street. For those of you who may be familiar with Buchanan, Grand Bassa County, it's a Church Street. It's a historic road. That road has been damaged. The drainage, I guess, a resident in the neighborhood was trying to do something and damage the drainage. So the water, when it rains, was flowing into the homes of people.
Wow.
And nobody could access the school anymore. They had to walk because cars could not go to the school because the road was damaged. I cannot wait. We cannot wait for the government. There's so many competing priorities, and we could sit and complain and wait for the government or figure out how to get it done. We are in the get it done era. We don't have time. So what is it going to take? Get it done. Understand what is it going to take and gather your resources. Use your ability. Use your influence. Talk about it. Draw a plan and get it done.
How did you guys get that done? And if you don't mind sharing, how much did it cost?
So, interesting thing about it, when we got the $50,000 donation, after we did the cost for building the clinic, there was like maybe $2,000 or $3,000 left. So
God already knew.
Yes, God already knew, right? So then we had to reassess. We cannot build the clinic without having access to the road.
So it was all a part of the funding.
We could have sat down and said, we cannot build a clinic because the road is damaged. That's another naysayer. Imagine me going back and saying, I can't build a road because I cannot access. I can build a clinic because I cannot access the school.
Yeah.
That's the problem solving. That was a chaos. That was a noise. But God had positioned us to deal with the noise, deal with the chaos, to reach the big vision. If you cannot deal with the noise, there is no way you can deal with the big vision.
She's talking to me. I don't know if she's talking to y'all, but she's definitely talking to me.
We want the big vision, but we don't want the noise. We don't want to deal with the chaos.
And even with dealing with the chaos, because you can deal with chaos, but how do you deal with it? One thing about Saya that I love is she and her husband actually, but more so her, she knows how to keep her composure under pressure. That's big.
Again, it goes back to my personal experience with my God. Because I've seen him. I know what he does. So I may be disappointed and run down into my secret closet and talk to God and cry and pray about it. But then call some of the people that I trust. Again, who do you trust? Who is in your circle that you can lay your head on? Because as a visionary, there will be times that you need to rest your head.
Right. And be real and vent. Because the whole world don't need to see that side.
Yes. Because you're human.
Right.
So
But you understand which midwife.
Midwife.
Yeah, midwife to trust.
Yes.
She's so, it's so interesting because while, I was able to help with this new era, she's helped me in so many ways, just as it relates to being a lady, being a woman. And actually, we started this conversation and kind of ran with it. I wanted to do this at the beginning, but this is the great point. With Women's History Month, the individuals that I highlight, these are individuals that are not just big deal to the world, to vision, but big deals to me. I want to publicly tell this big deal, Miss Saya, one, that I am so proud of you. Not that you haven't always been a big deal, not that you haven't always been polished, but now I just see a level of freedom, of access, meaning like power of possibilities. There's nothing that's off limits. But just who you are and who you've been a great example of how to walk as a strong woman, not your strength, his strength, of God, of how to be a business, a woman, a leader, a boss, a mother, like all these things, and you make it look so easy. But as it relates to what God has called me to do, every time I'm in like just, I'm tired of this and that, I'm like, wait a minute now. This woman does it every day, and you don't hear her complaining about it every day. You give me encouragement. You give me fuel. So thank you. Seriously. I want the world to know that I appreciate you, and I am so excited to see the heights that God takes you. Seriously. So excited.
Including yourself, Jeanette. I know you may not understand the magnitude of your impact when your mama saw it. I always tell you, your mama saw it before you even saw it.
Mm-hmm.
She kept telling me that when I first had the vision and showed your mom the blueprint of the school, she looked at it and said, wow, this is bigger than you. I thought she was talking about the school, but the more I realized as I go back to the conversation I had with her and still seeing her on a personal level, but I realized what she meant when she said, this vision is bigger than you. But she said, Jeanette, I want Jeanette to be part of it. So the season that you actually came into our life was critical because it was that formation stage that God wanted us to take a look at who we are. Sometimes you feel like you're a big deal, but there are areas in your life that needs to be polished, that needs to be fine-tuned, and it becomes uncomfortable.
Right.
You were planted in that season to make us feel uncomfortable, to reassess and look at ourselves in the mirror and say, you're a big deal, but you cannot show up any kind of way.
Excellence. Talk about my mom. Excellence. She always talked about excellence. And I see it.
Yes. I feel so ready for this new, but it didn't come overnight. It was all of those experiences over the years, and God repeating Himself. Like, I'm not going to tell you this again.
Right.
When I say show up, I want you to show up. When I say speak at that meeting, when you are at that executive conversation, when I say open your mouth, I need you to open your mouth.
Open your mouth.
Obedience. So I know the big and better. Will there not be chaos? There will. But have been able to deal with multiple chaos, it's going to be another situation where I'm like, okay, God, who the midwives that can roll with me in the season?
Right.
And if ain't you, just too bad.
Right. I always think about Luke 10:19. God has given us the authority to trample over snakes and scorpions and overcome all power of the enemy. Nothing will harm us. Distractions, chaos, all of that. That's the scripture I think about. Because if He's giving you the vision, that means He's giving you access and authority. So whatever come, not step on, not walk on, trample. And that's literally what you've been doing. You've been trampling. The thing that annoys me with the conversation, of course, it's here on the American side too with our issues, but let's speak about Liberia. Everybody complains. Since I was a child, same song about what's wrong in Liberia, the government, the president, this, that, years and years of the complaint. And I get it. But what can you do
with your hands? I think is people use that most times as an excuse. The hide behind the fear. Maybe the inability, the fear to fail. So you pick up what doesn't seem to work. So it gives you an excuse to buy time and not do what you are supposed to do.
Or also too, it's different parts. Because some people don't even, because we had literally this conversation last week with some family members. And I said the same thing. And we kept bringing up ATDOE and ATDOE and you. And it's like, it doesn't register because people don't understand how. They think they need the government. This is not coming against the government and the structure of the law or whatever, but even with, you can have the best government in place, everybody loves the president, there's still things that they can't do.
Everybody.
So what are you going to do? Everybody has a role to play. Everybody has a role to play. And everybody can't do what you're doing, right? But there's things that they can do in their respective areas. And that is the part I keep saying. Instead of us keep talking about the problem, let's strategize. Seriously, that's been my language. I get it. But let's start talking about solutions. How? What? I don't know, but let's start brainstorming.
And just do it. When my husband and I came to the U.S., it was impossible for the Liberian church in Salisbury to get a loan. And everybody was thinking, we don't have the right credit. We don't have this. But again, get it done. Find out what it takes. It takes X amount, X individuals with good credit to co-sign for the church. He and I put our names up. The church got built. Now, there's the Roe International Church. Right now, the property is almost paid for. They have about 2-3 acres of land.
Wow.
When I stand before God, I can say, God, I gave birth to that baby. When everything seemed impossible, I use my credit. My husband and I use our credit. That was another opportunity to get it done. So many things. We have to get beyond the chaos, the limitation, because there's power in possibilities. You have to think about the possibilities. Is there a possibility that I could use my credit to help the church? Is there a possibility that I may know somebody in the bank? Think about the unlimited possibilities. That's how I address situations. I always look at the possibilities. When God gives me a vision, I think about the possibilities. Sometimes the possibilities are big, sometimes they're small. I work through those many possibilities. And then the puzzle starts to come together. And it gets so exciting.
I have no words. It's just the way you think, the way you operate. And as you were talking, I was just thinking about all of the possibilities that have been made possible from the many years that I've known you all, and how I see it continuing, and how I see how you are helping other individuals see and change their thought process around challenges, around limitations, around barriers.
The baby that we just talked about, the science, the clinic that is being built. When we had the $50,000, the first thing that came to mind, $50,000, but there's work behind it. I'm not a medical person. I'm a CPA. I'm a business person. So who do I use? Jeanette Peters, who's on the board. Get a team together. Go and come back to me and tell me what it takes to run a clinic. Midwives. Put your team together. Come back. My role is to provide advice.
Right. But these are the professionals in that area.
Again, that's the midwife. You cannot take a midwife that's not called to that space to talk to you about operating a clinic. Sometimes we have midwives misplaced around our vision. Misplacement of midwives.
It's good. It's good. I don't know if this is a conversation, a sermon, a TED Talk, all the above. Man, Saya.
Midwives. And God has specifically given me strategic about midwives. You're carrying so many babies. And I don't know who I need to speak to, but so many of us, including yourself, Jeanette, impregnated with so many good things.
Sure.
We run after the wrong midwives. Sometimes it takes only one midwife to ill-advise you and kill your baby. So this month, women, we are mothers. We are nurturers. We are builders. We are visionaries. We are strategists. We are impregnated. Find the right midwife. Find the right midwife to help you bring forth that baby.
I think about when you first started, I'm not going to name the company, the role that you're in now, which has been many years, but I would never forget you were new in the role and it was just you. You were very capable with all of the certifications and degrees, but you still weren't capable of doing the whole job because you need key people to be in certain positions to help the team and to help whatever goal that's there. You built out an organization in the company to accomplish many goals. You gave birth, even though it's not your company, you were tasked to build something that you didn't have all the knowledge for, that you didn't have all of the resources for, but you figured it out. That's just a symbolism and parallel to what God has called
your hands.
You did that from the corporate realm, which, yes, that's a part of your vision, but it's connected to the bigger vision.
When I look at my career with my current employer, I've been very successful there. Right? Started as a senior manager, then director, then senior director. But again, as you said, giving a task, you have to take a pause and think about what do you need to be successful. Sometimes we are our own roadblock because we want to do everything ourselves because we want to shine. We don't want to share the shine or the table with somebody else. But sometimes God calls you to share the table, right? So every time I have a work or a responsibility, I first try to strategize what is it going to take? Who are the people? What are the resources? And how do I motivate my team to get it done? In corporate space, I don't seek to be at the front. Because good leaders make good leaders. I create space for my team to shine. I am their champions. My team goes to meeting with me in executive meetings. Because I'm confident. I allow them to shine. I fight for my people. So I play the role of a advisor, a champion. Because I first try to understand you as an individual. What do you aspire to be? Every time I build a team, the first thing I ask in my corporate space, where do you see yourself? Because my role is to help you get there.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to remain composed.
And that's really realistic leadership because if people understand that you have the best interest, to do whatever it takes to get it done.
They will push.
People, you have to be interested in the individual, not the task at hand. So asking questions about what do you, Jonah, see yourself? It may not even be the role that you're called to, but you might see yourself in a different position that I can be a champion for you, be a voice, or provide strategy to help you get there. And that's how I have been successful in most of my corporate work. Because my team, I allow to shine. You got to allow people to shine. And that's what most of us struggle with.
People are afraid that their light is going to get dim. We all play a role. We all play a role. So before I keep trying to find a way to close this thing, but I'm not rushing. This is my platform. We can go 5 hours if we want to, because this is meat. This is substance. This isn't just fluff. And there's so many people that needs to hear not only the whole conversation, but key pieces. You said something key. Say what you said. You help create leaders.
Yeah, good leaders help create good leaders.
All right. So let's talk about the vision again, but the physical vision that's come from your belly, right? You have 3 babies. You gave birth to 3 visionaries. And I'm not disregarding Emmanuel or Francia, because we already know they are a whole whatever, right? But that's a whole nother conversation with the kids. But I constantly think about, you say baby Francis, I say Francis the third, right? Because that baby attachment, sometimes you have to take it off so that it can really feel like they're walking in manhood. Even though I know he knows, but I'm just saying. I call him Francis the third. And I'm always reminded, when I was on the board for ATDOE Foundation, Francis the third is her oldest son, the one that she said that, struggles that she had to get him here, and a challenge. But we did a conversation called Leadership Mindset. It was with him, his younger brother Emmanuel, and his dad. While that conversation was with all of the CO men, it's something about this young man that it just rings so loud, and I'm forever reminding him that he's a leader. He doesn't try to be, he just is. And I don't know how intentional or non-intentional you've been with that leadership mindset that he has. But I want to park there for a second, if you're okay with that conversation, because good leaders help create good leaders. You've created a massive leader with Francis III. Talk about that. I don't want to frame it, but just what comes to mind when you think about his leadership mindset and what you've helped to birth and create? Of course, in addition to his dad, I'm not taking away from his dad, but you.
So, and thank you for reminding me about the baby Francis, because his dad always tells me, you need to drop
Stop
the
calling
baby.
him baby.
He's not a baby.
He's not.
Right. So
He will always be your baby, though.
But he's not a baby.
Yeah.
So Francis III naturally has a heart for people to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
He celebrates when his friends are succeeding.
Yes.
And that's unique characteristics of a leader.
Mm-hmm.
Even when he's not winning. Most times I watch him when his friends, he's always constantly celebrating their wins.
Mm-hmm.
And good leaders also have struggles and challenges.
Right.
When the Bible says, to whom much is given, much is expected, those individuals that carry the big like me, we have the most challenge.
Right.
And in this season of my son's life, he has his own challenge. But what I am commissioned to do is to help him develop the muscle.
Right. The grit
that is required for the big stage that is ahead of him. It may be uncomfortable, disappointing, long waited, but I see God using that to fine-tune his leadership. To fine-tune his leadership for the next level. And it may be long, but he has to grow in that space so that God can trust him with the big.
That was good. That was good. I don't want to go too deep, but I had to touch on it because there's a lot of young people out here that are striving, older people as well, but especially the younger generation, they need to see that it's a process. Sometimes it'll come quick and easy, other times not so much. But one thing it is, I want to call out is you're always winning. If you're continuing to walk, whether you've gained this title, this whatever, you are always winning because you are standing and you are moving. 25 years, you and your husband are about to celebrate a huge milestone, right? And for those who were at Sio's, her husband's 50th party last year, the party of the year, and I'm not just talking, but I don't know how they're going to top that, But I do know because I have a glimpse of what's coming in July. But it's not even about hyping up the party. It's the significance of 25. That's vision. That's both of your babies. Talk about why 25 years in this year is so big and why you're celebrating in a grand way.
So, thank you, Jonelle, because this is, I'm glad you're ending this with my baby that's going to be coming forth in July. Francis and I have been good friends, lovers, 34 plus years. And when we got married, we didn't have much. I remember he wanted to marry. I wasn't ready to marry. And we got married. And he got a ring for us. He was still in school, Catawba College. And I was still in school. And he got a ring. I think it was like $60-ish. Yes, it wasn't much. And we had two of our friends, Richard and Bill, who were the male owner in the basement, and my older sister Ruth went to the wedding, and the lit Doe. We got married, simple, and we came home and Francis cooked his kidney beans. So he'd been cooking for a long time, cooking kidney beans, and that was it that day. But ever since I was a little girl, I always wanted to walk down the aisle with my dress, with my father, and dance again. This has always been my dream. And as God blessed us over the years, raising our family and blessing us with homes and businesses and all of that, the more I think about it, the more I want to walk down the aisle and walk and wear my fairy tale dress and have my fairy tale wedding. But not only that, but when I think about marriage, it's a ministry. 25 years, you and I know, marriage is not bread and butter. There are some days you will not like the individual, but you're commissioned to love the individual.
Going back to the beginning, but we
talked about commissioned to love. So if you can endure all of that for 25 years, it's a big deal, and it's worth celebrating. And after 25 years, we are still in love. So why not celebrate the love that we still have? And then my dream as a little girl, wanting to walk down the aisle in her wedding dress again. And I tell you, as I think about that, I think about Esther going before the king. And I'm excited and looking forward to it. And I also believe it's another ministry because there's so many marriages. If you look at statistic right now, marriages are falling apart. And what people don't understand is that marriage is the bedrock of the society. If the marriage fails, the family fails, the church fails, the kids fail. So if you have been graced by God to sustain, you gotta let the word know that God is a big God. So we're not only gonna be celebrating, but we're gonna celebrate the size of our God. When I tell you big deal, it's gonna be a big deal.
3 days.
3 days. We are from Africa, so we gotta
that's
celebrate.
I mean, that's what we do.
We gotta do that, right?
It's more so of the intentionality and the thought. So we're used to celebrating big, but each day has a theme.
So we gotta bring our African culture the first day. Can't forget our roots. So we'll celebrate and do an African wedding. Then the second day, we're gonna go Europe and then I'm gonna wear my dress. And then the last day, we're gonna have 2 in 1. Can't forget God. We want to do a Thanksgiving service, but it's gonna be over the lake and just praising God in all white. And then we'll climax with all white cookout. But again, it's ministry. And did I tell you that the week before we will be graduating from our ministry school?
That's another part.
Yes, so I know there's multiple babies that God is speaking again. What am I going to do after 2 years of ministry school? We've been in the TDJ's powerhouse school of ministry for the last 2 years. And June 30th, God willing, we will be graduating with our ministerial degree.
God is good. He's big.
He's big.
Listen, You guys, I thought this was going to be an interview or a conversation. Like I said, it's more than a TED Talk. This is a masterclass for Women's History Month. Women all around the world. I want you to look at the camera and talk about your women. When I say your, the representation, those women are part of the Women's Sewing Program, those that recently come, those that have a voice that they may think don't fit in or, it don't sound right. Speak to those women with confidence and let them know that your big God is their big God too.
You know, it's so interesting, John, that when you were talking about your voice, the first thing that came to my mind was those women that are graduating from the ATDOE Foundation. I'm talking about women who have been abused, women who may not have resources to feed their kids, women who just looking for a place to feel significant. And those are the women that ATDOE Foundation has empowered, whether it be a sewing program or having to learn how to make different merchandise and use your hands. But it doesn't stop there. And even for those women like myself who represent the immigrants that have come from different parts of the world to fit in this culture that is so different, right? Because you imagine you being born and raised in a different environment where everything feels different, the language, the way you transact is different, coming to a new space that is uncomfortable. What I want you to understand, you have to believe in yourself. Everything you need to survive in a new space, you have it in you. When I came to the U.S., I came with my insecurities, but I had to face my fear because there's a unique place at the table that nobody can fill for you. My mother always told me, you have a space in the room. Every room, you have a space. And until you occupy that space will remain vacant. So that space could be you sharing your story, you being comfortable and speaking in your own language. Maybe your local dialect. Doesn't have to be serious, as Jonette said, or standard English. It can be broken English, but it has to be authentic. And that's the most important thing. Authenticity is what matters. Because when you are authentic, you can easily sleep and close your eyes and know that you've given everything your best. So if I can do it, if I can sit at the table and the seat of corporate leaders and share my ideas, if I can stay on social media and preach, now I'm sharing as I'm walking, I'm releasing videos. I never thought I could get to that place. But I had to realize that the big and better that God has for me, He knows that I have the ability to do it. So if God has given you the vision, He has given you the power, He has given you the authority, you got to be able to exercise it. There will be a lot of naysayers. People who may just despise you for no reason, or just can't get along, or cannot feel your energy, or don't understand your vision or your strategy. It's okay. And that's the place I've gotten in my life. It's okay. Because you need these people to help you reassess who you are. So in this month coming forth, March, celebrating women history, you are a big deal. You are a big deal. You are unique. You are peculiar. God created you because He had a unique purpose for you. And the most important thing is to realize that. Because once you realize that, everything else will fall in place. And I had to get to that point. Because even though I did all of this, Jonette, I didn't realize what I carried. And God had to force me to understand, do you know who you are? A lot of us don't even understand who we are.
Mm-mm.
And when you understand who you are and believe, understanding and believing are two different things. You can understand and still don't believe who you are. When you understand and believe, it doesn't matter who's in agreement with you. What matters is what God says, who you are, and what you believe you are. And everything else you need will fall in place. And once I got to that realization, I feel like I'm walking on waters. Not because I'm prideful, but because I know who I am and in whose I believe. And that's what matters. And everything else will fall in place.
There you go.
So Social Life Production, I want to thank you for what you do. You may not even understand what you do. Even you, do you even understand the platform that you have? I don't know why I'm speaking this, but do you really understand? I watch you every day go to the soccer field, cover Liberian stories. I don't even understand. I don't even know if Liberians receive what you're putting out there. But your purpose is unique. And it doesn't matter if we receive it, continue doing you. Because when the big God we're talking about gets ready, we will be online to make appointment and say, Jeanette, can I please be on Social Life? I want you to remember this conversation as we're talking about Winning Month. You are a big deal. God starts from the small. He's entrusting you. Can I trust Jeanette to run on the football field where nobody is watching, where the soccer boys may not be of status according to the society? Can I trust her to take care of the little? Because the big platform that she is about to go to, she has to grow muscle for that. And that muscle is when you are producing and nobody is clapping for you, but God is clapping for you. And that's why most of these women who are listening, a lot of us are producing, but nobody is clapping. It's okay because sometimes you got to build the muscle for the big stage. Every time I turn on Facebook, I see a little child being interviewed by Jonah. I see the soccer players. I see you carrying Liberian history. But we may not even appreciate it. You could be doing something different and better. But God is preparing you because He has to be able to trust you with where you go, where you came from. Oh, I see God carrying me back. He trusted me to go back to Liberia to take care of where I came from. Now to take me to the Word. How can I go to the Word if He cannot even trust me with where my birthplace? So He's taking you to your birthplace, your Liberian history, to show the world what Liberia is. Then He can trust you with the big, beyond Liberia.
Yep.
Whew. I don't know how I got there, but I had to follow what God wanted me to do.
Gotta speak.
He has to trust you with the little things. And that's why ministry starts from home. Oh, Holy Spirit. Ministry starts from home because He has to trust you with the familiar to take you into the unfamiliar. So we are familiar with Social Life, or it's Jeanette again, Liberian community, but He's preparing you for the unfamiliar. And that unfamiliar is going to be big. But if you take care of the familiar and work through the chaos, the unfamiliar becomes familiar.
Absolutely right.
Ooh, back in Liberia, running in the dirt, in the compound. Now it's a school, familiar. Now God is saying, okay, you've done that. Now it's time for the unfamiliar. I do not believe that God is going to take me into a place that I have not experienced everything I have experienced since I was a child. Because all of that was the classroom. And you are in your classroom for social life. And when graduation comes, you better make sure I'm there to walk the big stage.
something to say, but I don't remember. But no, this is, I don't care how long this is, but this is needed because it's raw. And it's showing vision is consistent. Consistency can become weary, especially when you have a lot of other things that you've been called to do. But when you see other midwives and other visionaries that are walking it and doing it, that's the move for Big God, the symbolism of Big God with the song. And that's why I love that song so much, because that's every time I say I have a big God, I pump up, I get fuel. With a socialite production, what God has called me to do is not just about me, it's beyond me. And it's so funny because I left the board, has it been 3 years now? I don't even know how many years. There were feelings and emotions, right, about me leaving.
I was like, Tanya.
And every now and then I'll be like, or if I see them gathering or, having their meeting, I'm kind of like, oh man, let me just go with it. No, because that's the end of an era for you. But God is going to bring it back, but in a different way, to serve the visionary. Not that particular baby. Now let's go back to the visionary. And so when you're speaking about socialite production, everything is in alignment. Everything is perfect timing. And I'm not going to go beyond that because it's not time to talk, but everything is intentional. Everything is intentional. And if we allow our feelings and emotions to get in the way, we're going to mess up some pregnancies or even the ability to get pregnant, right? And so thank you for pouring into me and doing this interview that's about you. And it's showing this point that I didn't touch on, that we've touched on pretty much without saying it. You are a walking, everyday ministry, like we talked about in dinner. Even in the interview. Because she could have communicated that in a polished way. We forgot the camera was here. That's what's needed. Realness. I don't edit out tears because I'm not about perfection. I want people to see it. She was speaking and confirming what God has already said. Why am I keep going out here? Why am I even doing this? There's a lot of other things I could be doing because God said so. Because God said so. Why are you still saying what? Because God said so.
Oh, I feel so happy.
This conversation is literally for everybody. Not one culture, not one status, but I have to keep going back to Liberia because she's a true representation of Liberia. What good can come from this small, war-torn country that used to be a safe haven for others?
Yes.
It's possible. The power of possibilities. This has been enriching. This has been fueling. Like I'm ready to just go home and just work for another 24 hours. This has just been amazing. Amazing. Tell the people how they can reach you, how they can reach the foundation, how they can give. I'm going to also put it on the screen, but just quickly tell them how they can follow you on social media and the foundation.
Definitely. So the ATDOE Memorial Foundation has a huge presence on social media. We are on Facebook as ATDOE Memorial Foundation. We are on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and then we have our website. So our website is www.ATDOEMF.org, and I'm sure Jeanette, you will be able to put that out. And then for me, I have my own personal page on Facebook, Saya Sio, as well as I'm on IG. So if you want to follow me, not even if you want to follow me for more of these highlights, because right now I know God is doing a lot of things. I'm walking periodically and giving words that God is calling me to. I know this new season after my ministerial license, I don't know what God is going to do, but follow me because I'm constantly putting out updates for my personal life. I have 3 brands, I always say. My family, So you want to know more of my family, follow me on social media. My faith, I love the Lord, and my charity.
Right. And even more than that, if you want to be a help, be a resource, or just to get to know more about what she's doing and all the babies, and if you have a role, whether financially or physically, definitely follow. For me, my platform is A Social Light, LIGHT production. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube is where you'll see full videos. Social media, you'll see highlights. But Saya, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to sit down in your beautiful home for you to share your heart with the world. This was more than a conversation. This was a master class. This was a sermon. This was empowerment. And there is so much more of this to come on a Socialite production, but on whatever stage and platform that God has given to Saya. A quick shout out to the ATDOE board, to the table champions, to the ambassadors. Anybody else?
All of those individuals who have and continue to support, we
Yes.
want to say thank you
Yes.
for all your contribution.
Yes.
I did not want this to be just about ATDOE
Of course,
Foundation,
of course.
so I did not want to just zoom in just on
I
ATDOE
get it.
Foundation. But again, we always say thank you for all of your support, and not forgetting my sweetheart. 25 years, we'll be celebrating, right?
Mhm.
July. And then my babies. I know they're all grown now, except my
Mhm.
last son, Emmanuel. But this will not be possible. I could not be able to give birth and manage all of these babies without the support of my family.
Yes. So much more I want to say, but the camera probably running out of batteries. But at A Socialite production, thank you for joining us, where we are connecting the world through faith, culture, and entertainment. Stay tuned, because we going up.
Amen. I'm not the best singer, but I can try.
Let's just show big God.
I have a very big God. A very big God. Oh, he's always by my side. He's a very big God.
Thank you guys so much. Peace.
I was saying thank you for the opportunity to interview my darling wife today. I was mesmerized by the level of, in-depth conversation you guys held, and most especially when she said, "Not all midwives are going to be in the room with you." That was deep thought, and I think I will use that somewhere again, because definitely not all midwives can be in a cycle in a room with you. I thought it was really deep, and thank you for sharing that conversation. And I apologize for any disturbance.
If y'all hear walking in the video, is this man?
I can't even work my one. Oh my God.
Oh.
How you doing, Waggy? Give me the dude. Yeah, man. So I just wait in the office when I do. Because I'm about to say, can you stop? This time, just look here, get out and do that. This is what I'm doing. I can do my work anywhere with you. Look at me now, this is about to show. Where on that side? I swear to God, it's I said, but why do you do it? Don't leave poor man. I don't want it. Then I just go crawl. I just cry more. I said, stop it, just